Married, both lawyers, both founders now of Trident Trackway. What is that like?
Meet the pioneers in the sustainability industry here in the GCC region. 3 founders who turned garbage plastic waste into $1 million business. Let's get to know the mind behind the genius.
The whole ethos of what we do is because we feel so passionately about it.
I think mankind is clever enough. We can still change things around.
So let's get straight into it. I'm really curious to know how you guys transformed something like this, reject plastic waste, into something as phenomenal as this.
Plastic pollution is a big issue here, and there's a lot of plastic available in the market, so we figured let's make something out of it.
We needed a trackway, a product for the market, for the construction industry, for the events industry.
And this product kind of sprung to mind as something we were familiar with, but wasn't made anywhere in the Middle East. The process itself is basically we take shredded plastic, so it's either post-consumer or post-industrial, and in their manufacturing process there's quite a lot of reject material.
Then it's just a matter of refining the process, taking it from that little shredded pieces into the tiles.
And I'm quite curious to know whether you guys feel pressured in your day-to-day life to be the most eco-friendly citizen that you can be, given that you work in such a big, profound industry that makes you want to uphold that reputation.
Well, in some ways, yes, of course.
Yeah. I think everybody has a responsibility to do what they can. And, we've gone the way of actually moving our whole life and career and company towards the goal of manufacturing sustainable products for the construction and events industry. That is kind of our life. To not do that outside of our kind of working life would be really odd. Having said that, nobody is perfect. We get on a flight and go on holiday when it's not COVID.
Yeah.
We don't drive an electric vehicle. There's always compromises in life, but I think as much as one can strive to do the right thing, I think it is for oneself as well, it's really important.
And how would you guys advise people to think of sustainability more often?
Climate change is a big thing, and climate change has many causes. Part of it is our waste and how we use waste and how we produce more products from finite resources instead of making use of the waste we have. We've been very proud to supply our trackway to Expo 2020 Dubai. So that was a big project for us. It actually helped us, of course, as a company through the COVID times as well. We have projects in Saudi and in Oman, in Qatar, and of course here in the UAE.
We're really working hard to try and expand across the region. It's a regional problem and there are regional opportunities.
You guys are probably an inspiration for other construction companies here in the MENA region. Where do you guys draw inspiration from, whether that be people or businesses?
For me personally, it was definitely my parents, my dad in particular, who is a veterinarian, who's a vet. He discovered that a lot of animals, especially coming from the desert, be it gazelles or camels, had died, and he did the necropsy and saw that they had ingested plastic. So their stomachs were full of plastic.
That must have been hard to see.
That was very hard to see. At some point they just realized that their stomach is full, they don't eat anything else, and then they die actually of hunger.
I remember as a kid, my mother would always go to people who were picnicking on the beach and say, you are taking your litter home, make sure you take your litter home. And as a child, you're sort of a little bit embarrassed because, your mother's going around telling people. That's kind of the inspiration for me, but also seeing then as time went on, the increase in plastic.
On the topic of family, you guys are married, right?
Yes.
We are married.
Yeah.
Still.
Happily still.
Yeah. What is that like?
I think it's quite fun.
I think we enjoy it, yes.
People sort of are quite surprised, but if you can make a marriage work, you can make a business work.
Yeah.
What's more difficult?
Quite honestly, she's the boss lady.
No.
I've read from the entrepreneur.com article that you are moving into 2022 with the expectation of achieving $3.5 million. People won't assume that you have started from zero, from your own funds, and now that you're receiving rewards and funding initiatives. What do you guys have to say to people who would see this as a self-made overnight success of a business?
It hasn't been quite overnight.
Yeah.
For one thing, it has taken a lot of hard work, quite a gamble with making our own mold, designing our own mold, paying for a mold. It does take a lot of commitment, it does take a lot of financial input and quite a bit of risk. We did have to knock on a few doors to introduce ourselves, to trying to convince them that it's a sustainable product, but also a long-lasting product.
The whole part of building a sustainable business, sustainable also means financially sustainable, because you want to be able to pay your employees, you want to be able to pay yourself, and you want the business to continue and live and thrive.
There is a journal under the transnational environmental law. It states that sustainability is too vague to address any real world problems, too boring to persuade social change, and too late to solve initiatives around sustainability.
Too late? They might have a point. No, let's be optimistic.
No.
Things need to happen faster and at a bigger scale. Only by having big solutions can you solve a big problem. It's not boring either. Come back to the boring.
No, not
it
at
isn't.
all.
It's super exciting, and I think anybody who's thinking of going into some sort of a sustainable business, it's a growth area.
It's really about social welfare, environmental care, climate change. That's how you can start looking at countries and how successful countries are.
The tons of plastic that we recycle, that's a massive headline figure for us. How many tons of plastic have we recycled to date?
Which is your initial mission or vision to Trident Trackway. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I've learned a lot, and I hope everyone else does, about all your accomplishments and your way of thought.
And thank you.
Theresa, Cameron and David continue expanding their business, bringing their sustainable plastic tiles to events and construction sites across the region. But are we doing our part to keep Earth our home? Don't wait until it's too late.